Dear listeners, welcome at the fourth episode from series Rise and Fall of the Capitalism from podcast channel Solid State Society. This episode is called People Demands Blood/Justice. To be 100% honest, I considered the Rise and Fall of the Capitalism series first 3 episodes. But few days ago, I started watching one of the female podcasters on internet, and she started talking about topic what I heard before several times. The topic was right cancel culture. And honestly, I did not understand what people mean by saying right-wing cancel culture. Cancel culture is what left do, what communists do. They did it in the past many times. They basically do it in every communist country, especially in China, communist China, and in Soviet Union. I am pretty aware. That's why I'm constantly saying that modern leftist is just new type of the communism. They still use the same way and same methods as they did it in the past. That they just evolve or they are move 100 years into future. But in the core, they are same people. But on other side, right, do not use this method. Right is doing right like capitalists are doing other things. One of their greatest tool is corruption, ability to corrupt everything and anyone. Yes, that's their tool, but cancel culture, that's not quite a right-winning method or tool. Usually, or I generally believe right do not use cancel culture. Maybe because it's against their own idea that market is always right. And market will decide if you supposed to be cancelled or not. So why cancel someone through the state or some other type of methods like leftists do? It doesn't make sense. But honestly, this female podcaster in her first episode from her new show was talking about it. About this topic, and she helped me to understand what people actually mean by saying right cancel culture. What they mean is the word cancel culture or right cancel culture is not good expression. What they actually mean, and this topic will be, and this episode will be, is that people are demanding blood. People demand justice. Yes, we can look on the behavior of people in this way badly, and we can say that people demand blood, or we can look it on a lighter way, and we can say that people are just demanding justice. But what that means that all that people in the past, when they did something, when they damaged someone, when they did something to someone, especially when they create some kind of trauma in the people are demanding justice. People are demanding their blood. So if there is some, let's say, company or person who in the past was doing bad thing, let's say canceling someone, demanding its own ideas, demanding that someone must be destroyed or something must be applied just because they believe that, usually, and when the opposition is silenced, the silent opposition became bitter, became sour, and one eventually, when this person who made it, who created the situation, they start to feel that they wanted their blood, their justice for things what they done in the past. That's basically what I'm trying to explain in my gender war series. That the women today and the culture of today is doing something bad, especially to mans, and mans will eventually, when this all will fall down, man will be demanding justice. I have famous quote, I put all this information into one quote, but unluckily for us all, I believe generally most feminists will not understand it, but the greatest and most terrifying thing, what today feminists could hear, or you can tell to the feminists, is feminism will not be forgotten. And it's quote which should scare the hell out of not just feminists, but all women. This quote means that people, especially men, are hurt. They was silenced, they was punished, they was unjustifiably punished many times, they was persecuted, and they was silenced. They was not able to speak about how bad things happened to them. And this created this anger, this need for justice, this need for blood. And gender wars is not only thing when it's happening. This, what's supposed to be called, what now they are trying to call right-wing cancel culture, is actually demand of people for the justice. Demand that they was hiding in the shadows. They was silent for a very long time, and now they are demanding blood of people who made the suffering what they suffered in the past, or unpleasant things. And actually, this is not a matter of just behavior of the people, but this is one of the greatest flaws of at least today capitalism. It's not a problem just in gender war series or in the left. It's problem in the capitalism in the core. That's why I decided to make this episode. I made it 4th episode and not just extra episode, because this topic is huge and it's very important. Come back to first episode, and I believe I mentioned it many times. There's a great saying, what especially, let's say, intellectuals on right, intellectuals of a capitalism are often saying. They are saying that capitalism is unequally disturbing wealth between people, and communism equally disturbs poverty to the people. And in the first episode, I was trying to explain to all of you, my listeners, that this is actually very true. This is actually saying so much, and it's basic embodiment of the problem of not just communism, what this quote is actually mocking of, but also capitalism as well. Because many people who are using this quote is not realizing that it's also saying the main core, the problem in capitalism itself. That capitalism disturbs wealth unequally. And if you also watched my bonus episode for the series, How We Get Here, basically explain the history. That this flaw of the capitalism appeared or was evolved, became visible in society because rise of our technology, because our industrial age, because how our civilization move. Basically, we can theorize if the capitalism was system that would be acceptable back then in basically middle age societies, where the person can work. If he worked well, then he became richer than other person, but he will never be too much rich. But with all the technologies what we have right now, this scissors divide between rich and poor became bigger and bigger, and smaller amount of people on the top became much more richer than they supposed to be, and the rest of the people became much more poor in our level of technology, our level of civilization that they supposed to be. And this is the problem. This is what is actually creating problem. That basically we can say that rich people are too rich. And I know that I sound as the communist, but those who are familiar with my channel, they pretty well know that I am not communist. Maybe in some way socialist. I believe in some kind of social state, and I believe that's how this whole situation in last several hundred years will actually end up. We will end up with a system where some kind of market will be existing, but also the states became more social than they are today in our capitalist system. So basically, yes, I'm social, but I'm definitely not communist, and I'm definitely not leftist. I know it's sound kind of weird, but I will continue. The problem itself is that the people became too rich, and corporation became too rich. And in our capitalist system, the money, the wealth equals power. So basically, the people became too powerful. They became too rich. And in that moment, when you have society, when you have system where people and corporation and business, the companies became too much rich, it means that the idea of capitalism, that market is always right, stopped to function. The capitalists generally believe, and basically we can say that they believe that market is always right. And they literally believe in market, that market is basically deity to them, and market will always choose what is right and what is wrong, and it will basically reward those who are good and those who are doing things well, and it will punish or destroy those who are doing things badly. But actually, we can see today in our late stage capitalism, in capitalism with combination with our modern industrial, very technological, high level civilization, that this stopped to be true. And this is major flaw in the capitalism. And this is what's creating this need in the people for justice, for the blood, because they can see all this corporation, all these very rich people, that they start to do basically bad things. They start to do errors, that they start to attack people or do bad things towards people, towards the rest of the society. But because they are too rich, they are too much rich, that even when they failed, market did not destroy them, because they still have too much money. Few weeks ago, I was watching one interesting video about, basically video I believe was called 10 Greatest Mistakes of Most Famous Fast Food Franchise on the World. You know what kind of franchise I'm talking about. I'm kind of close to that franchise because in my country, I was born in my country at the end, in last stage of communism. I was born in communist communist dictatorship, and whole 90s, basically my childhood, was one of the wildest capitalist era in the last 100 years. Even, and it's very similar like in China, because in China there was also very wild era of capitalism, but even in China it was not as wild and as bad capitalist as it was, especially here in post-Soviet countries, post-communist countries of the Europe. So I experienced the capitalism in the core, in the wildest. And one of the major stone of that era was that this franchise, famous fast food franchise, opened his first restaurant here. And we literally celebrated, we as the people on my country, we literally celebrated that finally they opened their first restaurant here. And many years after, when I became adult, I started to work there. It was my first work in the one of the restaurant of that franchise, and I worked there for many years. So this franchise is actually very close to my heart. Even when I fully see, and maybe I can see more than others, all the bad things in that system, because that franchise is basically very evolved, very think through system that, at least for me, in many years of my life, basically through from my childhood to the years where I was working inside, it looks for me like this system is almost perfect. It's destroying people, it's bad for the people, food what it's selling is basically poison and garbage, but still, the system itself seems like it's perfect, like it's never doing anything bad. But the video what I saw few weeks ago was about 10 greatest mistakes of that franchise. And as typically in anybody else, in many examples before that and still today, when I see how much they, and sorry for the word, how much in the past they fuck it up, I am wondering, hey, the capitalists are saying that if there is company or person who start to doing something bad, something wrong, then the DT of theirs, the market, will destroy it. But this franchise is not destroyed. Why it was not destroyed? Because it became too much rich. But it's supposed to be destroyed because it done many bad things. It's actually done many bad things on many levels. Why it was not destroyed? Because capitalism is actually not working as these idealists of capitalism are thinking. And when that happened, people are still remembering that. And they are actually demanding justice. They're demanding of blood. So people will want it, and if they will see this franchise falling, they will be extremely aggressive and blood hungry against them. This is what's happening with Hollywood and in many other examples, where Hollywood in last decade, at least last decade, they are fucking up very bad. They are doing things badly, and they are doing badly things against especially people, but they are not still punished because they have so much money generated from basically centuries before that they did not fall and they was not destroyed. But this is not justice. This is not how supposed to capitalism work. And people are demanding justice. People demand that Hollywood will be destroyed. Actually, when now new President Trump became president, when the lefts became in America, they became so crazy about everything. Some of them were suggesting that California supposed to be independent, supposed to be leave the United States of America and became independent state. Honestly, I like Americans. I like United States. But in the moment, but I hate Los Angeles and I hate California together with New York. And in the moment, if California would be separate from United States, trust me, I would be literally demanding that we will nuke especially Los Angeles, because I hate the people in there. Because I blame the people from Los Angeles for things what Hollywood is doing. And in other series, in Gender Wars, I am talking about how much feminist propaganda they push towards not just American society, but to humans around the world itself. And I am still preparing new series, Babylon Hollywood, where I will be talking about the mistakes and flaws of the Hollywood. Hollywood is this porcelain elephant, and it's supposed to be destroyed. It's doing too much bad things, but it's not destroyed. Why? Because they still have money. And basically what the female podcaster, what made the video, or what helped me to decide to make this episode, what she pointed out was people like me, people who are demanding justice, who wants blood of that people who in the past did something wrong and actually silence us. That's why I demand blood of the feminist, and that's why I demand blood of the Hollywood. I want Hollywood to be destroyed. Unfortunately, Hollywood right now is basically monopoly for higher entertainment worldwide. Because the history, more I will explain in the Babylon Hollywood. But if there would be, let's say, a different place like Hollywood on the world, I would be glad if Hollywood and Los Angeles would be destroyed and this new place will take over it and start to make movies, shows, even games instead of Hollywood. Because these people became so corrupted and they did so much bad things in the past that I just honestly want their fall. And that's what this female podcaster was pointing out, that right-wing cancel culture. It's not cancel culture. We just demand justice. These people did in the past bad things. And because in our system, in our late stage capitalism, when you became rich, you became so much rich that basically you are unable to do failures. As that fast food franchise, what I mentioned, they did so many mistakes in the past that they should be destroyed 100 times. If they would be franchised or just one restaurant or just few restaurants in one country, their mistakes would bury them deeply. People will stop to coming in their restaurants, stop to buying their food, and they basically bankrupt. And this is what our capitalist friends, capitalist ideologists believe it's happening. But it's not happening anymore, because this franchise is so rich that they could basically stop generating profit and still survive many decades into future. It's the same situation with Hollywood. Hollywood stop generating profit. Their movies, their shows are just angering people and doing many bad things, but they still have money from the past, and it will take another decades until they will finally face the bankruptcy. And even if they change their course and start to, let's say, apologizing and say, oh, we did in the past bad things, now we change, please buy our product again, we need your profit again. We, the people, don't want to forget your sins of the past. Great example of that is one of the billionaires, and this female podcaster was actually pointing out billionaire, what I literally hate, founder and leader of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. Is the person what I honestly, I hate him. I didn't even, that's why I openly say his name and what he's doing, because I genuinely believe that that person is disgusting. And why I believe that is I genuinely believe the Facebook and special leader of the Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is basically criminal against humanity. I don't just hate him, but I believe the reason why I hate him is because I genuinely believe that in non-capitalist society, that person and other leaders of Meta or Facebook before should stand in worldwide trial and be accused for the crimes against humanity, because that's what they did in the past. They experience on the people, on behavior of the people. And I know they are not only one. I believe that other companies are doing the same things. Other IT companies are doing the same things. And that's what basically entire Silicon Valley, entire IT industry is doing. And they have great, I heard a few days ago that they have saying for this kind of behavior, saying it's like move fast, break things, and this is wrong. This is what's supposed to not happening, and this is what when I am talking about errors of the capitalism, this saying is basically my problem with the capitalism itself. And first I hear this quote was when there was some podcasters in my country was talking about how IT industry is doing that, and now the Elon Musk is trying to apply same thing, same logic, same methods on government, but in government, in state-like system, this behavior is bad. I genuinely believe this behavior, move fast, break things, is bad everywhere. And IT industry is deeply corrupted, basically even more than Hollywood. And I genuinely believe it's corrupted because the founders of this industry, like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, they did things in the past, and because they became too much rich, they was forgiven. And that's bad. That's very bad, because yes, you can say your system will not put these people on the trial and they will not be punished by the states, but the errors, the crimes or sins what they did will live on and will destroy people's life, will destroy society. And I know that in today's world, we have this opinion that IT industry is top industry. It's our Klondike. It's our gold digging fever of today's world, of beginning of 21st century. But actually, in the industry itself is corrupted and it's doing things badly. Don't believe anyone who is telling you that the situation, the toxic environment in this industry, especially in Silicon Valley, is good, and it's the reason why IT industry is so much a rise in today's world. It's not true. It's The same way as I made an episode, standalone episode about saints of the left, where I was explaining how the left is trying to glorify their heroes. But if you actually realize mistakes of these heroes, you discovered that their flaws and their errors are mirroring in their movements and in the people who followed them. And IT industry is the same. The founders of this industry, or great leaders or heroes of this industry, like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates and others, their mistakes and their flaws are inherently rooted in that industry, and it's actually not good. Right now, we are getting to artificial intelligence and things like that. I'm sorry, but I generally believe we're supposed to have that 20 years ago. But industry is so corrupted, and nobody is punishing them for bad behavior, for breaking things, because they are too rich. Then they are doing same mistakes. And this is the problem with the situation when people became too much rich, that means too much powerful, and when they became too rich and too powerful, they cannot mistakes anymore. Any mistakes what they do is just not mistakes, it's just small hiccup. It's nothing for them. And that creates a situation where these people are actively doing mistakes because no mistakes will punish them back, and they doing that over and over and over again. They are not replaced, and they are taking place of people or companies or corporations who can actually do their work but do it better than they are doing that. And come back to Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, and he did many bad things. And now he's changing his mind, and from woke leftist liberal, he starts to look like he's now still liberal, but right-wing liberal. And everybody, including me, thinks that are just disguised from him, and he is still this evil man who did terrible crimes against humanity, and he will just repeat it. But it was actually this female podcaster with her episode from new series, what she did about right cancel culture, and she pointed out different light on Mark Zuckerberg. Actually point out that maybe it's not just disguise. It's not just pretend, but it's real. Maybe he's really changing himself. He's maybe really doing to right, and that in the past he did not want to do things what his Facebook Meta did, and he was just pushed to this position. And suddenly I realized that she's right. She's right, and Mark Zuckerberg is maybe, it still could be that it's just disguised and he's just pretending to be a good guy, right-wing, letting people to speak on his platform as they want. It could be still disguised, but maybe it's the same way as it is with Mr. Soros, with Mr. Gates, and others. He is maybe just young boy who became, literally young boy, who became suddenly, basically overnight, super rich. And super rich in our system mean also super powerful. But he became powerful, too much powerful, but he is basically not created to be powerful. He's not wise enough. That's the problem what I have with Mr. Soros or with Mr. Gates. Many people think that, let's say, I'm closer to Bill Gates. Many people think that, oh, this man is some kind of evil, let's say Illuminati level man who was one of the richest men on the world, and now he's trying to control our world and vaccinated all of us to making us his slave and things like that. They basically doing typical, very stupid, logical falsehood, what many people doing, and it's wrong, saying that your enemy or someone who is hurting you, let's say, is doing that because he's evil. But it's actually not true. And he's just normal guy. And he is just Gates, Soros, Zuckerberg. They are just normal people. Normal men who became too much rich even for their own good. And that's the problem. Because in our environment, in our type of capitalism, when you became very rich, people start to almost worship you. You became almost saints. And they think that everything what you do is perfect, that you will be always good, always right in everything. And that's mentality what they have in the past. In my country, almost centuries ago, we have someone like Henry Ford, and people thought he was very good in creating shoes, and people thought that he will be good in everything. They basically pushed him to become political figure and go to into politics, but he failed that because yes, he was good in basically creating of shoes, same way as Henry Ford was good in creating cars, same way as Bill Gates is basically founder of IT and development in IT industry. But that's all. They are just good businessmen. They are not perfect. They are not godlike. They are not omnipotent. But in capitalism, many people have point of view or start to feel like they are. No, Bill Gates is not perfect because he is rich. Same way as Mr. Soros, same way as Mark Zuckerberg. Because he's unbelievably rich, it doesn't mean that they are perfect. That everything what they touch will be gold. Everything what they will do will be perfect. No, not at all. They are just people. And on other hand, imagine for the moment, I like example of Bill Gates, and the reason why probably he became involved in vaccination is he's not bad man. He is just normal guy, and he wants to do good things. But in the position in like these people are very, very, very rich, they basically became bombarded by this huge crowd of people demanding and persuading them to do something for them, basically demanding money or support for them. Literally, they are, imagine it, be in their shoes for one moment. And there are thousands and thousands of people every day. Imagine that you are Bill Gates, and imagine that every day there are hundreds of people coming every day trying to persuade you that if you invest in their company, that they will cure AIDS in Africa, that they will feed people in Afghanistan, they will help with pollution, they will clean our planet, or anything and everything. And these people, this crowd is basically shouting on Bill and people like him constantly. It's the same way, same problem what we have today with the internet. That the people are not usually collapsing if someone tell them something bad. Oh, I don't like your content on internet, you are bad, I don't like you. If would be on the street, then normally the person who is creating the content, let's say on internet, will not be collapsing. But because it's on internet and his content can reach simultaneously thousands or millions of people, and all these people can create comments on his content, so thousands and thousands of people can literally mock you or say bad things to you, the people are collapsing. And this is the same way, same situation. It's the same like with internet. These billionaires are constantly bombarded by people who are trying to persuade them that they should do something good and what they are suggesting is actually good. And that's the reason why Bill Gates became involved in vaccination. Even when he's not from medical industry, he's from IT. And if they don't have wiseness and morality, what they're supposed to have, these very rich people, they actually became involvement, let's say, in politics around the world, like Mr. Soros. The problem of these people is not that they are evil and they are trying to control the world. Problem of these people is that they became so much rich and nobody taught them morality or give them wisdom that, hey, you are very rich, that's cool, but you don't have right to involve in other countries' government like Mr. Soros. Hey, Mr. Gates, yes, you are very rich. If you want to give your money to someone, you can, but then don't evolve more. You don't have right to do that. And nobody is telling that people that. And that's the real problem. In the past, or in other systems, if they would not become so much rich, not billionaires, but let's say just millionaires, if they did something wrong, like they did, they will be punished. The supposed to deity of market would destroy them because money would dry out, and they became basically destroyed. But how they can be when they are so much rich? Another billionaire, I believe right now, richest man. No, now Elon is the richest. Okay, another one of the richest men on the world, Jeff Bezos. His Amazon is creating show from the famous Lord of the Rings. This show is very bad. It is spending so much money. And this is the problem in the core, because Amazon and Jeff Bezos is so much rich, they can do that. They can create these shows over and over because they have enough money. If the Bezos would have, let's say, just 1% of what he have, he would be forced actually to think about the things what he do. And he would be forced to think before he act, not making mistakes. Or if he would do mistake, the market would destroy him. But this is not happening because the capitalism basically stopped working. At least the capitalist idea that market is always right and market will destroy you. No, it's not happening anymore. The companies like this fast food franchise, what I was talking previously, can do mistakes after mistakes after mistakes, and they still have money. Hollywood can make bad movies, disconnecting their own customers, angry everybody, angry millions of people around the world, and still they can do that for decades. Jeff Bezos can make his stupid show, angry everybody, but he still have money. And this is the problem with Mark Zuckerberg also. He is just young boy who became very rich, and he don't still, because he became rich doesn't mean that he was wise. He was not wise, he was weak. And because he was weak, his companies, his Facebook was pushed by governments, by another organizations, by people who believe in wokeism, and created these huge problems, these huge crimes and sins, what Facebook did in the past. And that's why we are demanding, like people like me, why we are demanding head of Mark Zuckerberg. Because he did in the past bad things, and we want him punished. But this is in our system not happening. And this is one of the greatest flaws of our late stage capitalism system. That people became too much rich, and when they are too much rich, they are invincible. They do not make mistakes anymore. They actually do mistakes, but the mistakes don't have outcome what normal would have. The restaurants can make stupid decision, but because there are thousands of these restaurants around the world and they have billions and billions of dollars, then they did not bankrupt. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Mr. Soros are billionaires who have so much money that they can make one error, one mistake after another, and they are not punished. And think about it. This is literally against the idea why we build democratic systems at the first place. We believe that we create democracies so people cannot get to position of power and stay there, not be destroyed by their own errors, by their own mistakes. Because there is democracy, there is voting, and if they do many bad things, then in next voting, they will be voted out. This is the principle of democracy. But we basically, through capitalism, get to the point where this is happening in business sphere. And because in capitalism, money is everything, these people became in position of power because money are power in capitalism. So basically, very rich are very powerful. And when they get in position of power, nobody is taking them down. So literally our late stage capitalism is a system that is denying main idea of democracy. That people became powerful and he is not taken down when he starts to do mistakes. How this can be happening? So I will end up with thought that there was a meme few months ago, maybe a year ago, that women discover how much men are thinking about ancient Rome. And so many people are thinking about Rome, especially many men, and many men actually comparing situations, especially in United States in today, they compare it to Rome, to rise and fall of Rome. But maybe, dear gentlemen, we should stop for the moment, think about Rome, and more start to think about France. And I believe France kingdom or France empire before the French Revolution. Why? Because the situation was pretty the same. Many people do not understand why the French Revolution actually happened. They think that Very simplistically, historian will tell them, oh, people rise in French Revolution against royalty, against feudals, because tax was too high and people live in poverty. People live in poverty and taxes are always too high all the time. But why actually so big revolution happened? The reason was that normal people was cornered and people at the power, feudals, became disconnected and basically no fault policy was applied to them. The feudals, same way as today rich, was so powerful that they could do any mistakes and they was not punished for that mistake. And they became so much disconnected from the rest of the society that literally, I often say that feudals was dancing in Versailles when the people of Paris was literally marching against them. I know it's, in reality, it was a little bit more complex. I know. But the point of my saying is that we now have very rich who became too much powerful and they cannot do mistakes, even when they are actually doing lots of mistakes, but they are not punished by any force when they do this mistake. And I disagree with this female podcaster, what actually forced me to do this episode. I believe these people should be punished. Justice, or you can call it call for blood, is important in the society. That's the reason why we invented the court system, tribunals of justice, right, and laws in our system. That's why we inherited from ancient Greeks the system of judgment of courts is created to ease this need for blood or for justice, if you want, from the people. But now this capitalist, this late stage capitalism is creating a situation where people, and it doesn't matter what they believe, it doesn't matter if they are left-wing woke idealist from Hollywood or extreme capitalist businessmen like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, still, in our system, they became so much rich, so much powerful, without actually knowledge and wisdom to become powerful as they are. And that leads them to creating mistake after mistake, failure after failure. But in our system, they aren't punished. And that's the problem. That's what happened in France before the revolution. Ruler system, the feudals, was not punished for their mistakes. And I generally believe that's job actually of the ruler, of the dictator. There's supposed to be a ruler who will actually punish people when they do bad things. This is how it's supposed to be. But the capitalism is so corrupted because everybody and everyone have price. And main tool of the capitalist is corruption. Then our judgment, our court system is so corrupted, our government are so corrupted that these people are not punished for the crimes, for the errors, for the failures, what they are doing. And these have consequences. It's not like many people thinking then if Mark Zuckerberg will not be punished for the crimes against humanity, what he did in the past, then nothing will happen. No, these things, I'm trying to explain to all of you that I generally believe that main religion of our world are trying us people, or maybe leaders of this great religion in the past, what they was trying to explain to us is not that there is some kind of bearded man on the cloud that will punish us if we do bad things what he don't like. No. I believe religions are about idea that our action have consequences. Everything what we do, everything what we say, even what we think have consequences. But we humans do not act like our action have consequences. And that's a problem because every action actually have consequences. French feudals was doing mistakes but was not punished for this mistake, subjugating people of France over and over through years and decades, and they always think that nothing will happen, but it's not true. Something eventually happened. It's happened in France, it's happened in feudal Russia. And it's probably happening right now in China, and it's happening worldwide. Errors, failures of the people have consequences. And if you have class of super rich, that means in our capitalist system super powerful, and they are not punished when they do something wrong, that create problem that start to metastase, that start to spread and corrupt society from the bottom. And eventually this problem will appear again, much more bigger and much more problematic than ever before. Dealing with one super rich man who did something bad is easy. But dealing with people, with entire society that is literally angered for decades of be subjugated by this very rich man who did very bad things towards them and never been punished. That's the huge problem. When the people became angry, where people start to demand blood or justice if you want. And this is why capitalism will collapse. Nobody can stop that because the mistakes was already happened. The system already cracked. And even if you take all these flawed people who made mistakes in the past, errors and failures, what they are doing right now, these errors, even if you punish them all, it's actually not possible anymore to punish, to judge them all anymore. And even if you do, so much anger, so much pressure inside of humans was created that will eventually erupt like huge super volcano, and that will change our society, and that will bring very bad things to our society. If you want to know more what I'm actually talking about, suggesting to you to go and listen a standalone episode about social behavior hygiene, where I talk about this accumulate anger and metaphysically said evilness that was gathered inside the people and how that ends. But for everyone, thank you for listening. This episode, fourth episode from the series Rise and Fall of Capitalism, and I wish you all good days, good mornings, good evenings, and good night to all of you. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.